Right, welcome. We'll see if any others want to show up since this is a kind of a makeup call we may have missed because people usually, here's Lynn, put it on their schedules for the first Monday, actually second Monday of the month. Hi, Lynn. Welcome officially to the Makeup Ask Me Anything Live for September. Apologize for the tech issues last week. Oh, look at your pretty backdrop, Lynn. That's a good one. Philip, good to see you. I know we were just swapping messages. I had to race home. I've got a sick doggy today, and so I might have to take her into the vet right after this.
Oh, no.
I know, it happens. All right, who has questions today that I can support you with? You're welcome to pop into the chat if you have something specific. You're welcome to just go live. Lynn, did you unmute?
Yeah, I just unmute. I have lots of questions, but I don't want to be a hog. This is my first time. I don't know how you do
No
this.
worries. No, it's a, it's really an open session for people to ask questions about any legal issues pertaining to their business. I say anything at the intersection of law and business.
Okay.
So if I can.
Well, let me start with the more general question that we were trading emails back and forth, right? So after the mass, since we're a small group, so
Totally.
after the master class last week, right, I did go through the website and I looked at the packages and stuff, and I felt like very overwhelmed because I'm really at the beginning, right? So this is like a lot of other people, right, they already have like their business structure or whatever, and they're moving into online, right? And I'm just like getting started with all of that. And but I do have a lot of stuff together, and I do have like a target date in the early mid-October that I kind of want to launch stuff, right?
Okay.
And, so I'm like, well, okay, I don't know. I think the question is, so then what are the critical things for a launch in terms of, do I have to have my business structure in place in terms of, it's going to be an LLC or, some combination with a DBA? What do I have to do in terms of my, any intellectual property and some of that? Like, even if I want to trademark stuff, right, I couldn't get it trademarked by then. So
no,
right.
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically what I'm hearing is and welcome to everybody else who joined us a little bit late today. Thanks for making the Ask Me Anything Live makeup call work. Last week was a little bit of a technology snafu.
So, I'm sorry, Heather, let me just bring it back then to your stuff. So then I went, well, do I get the website, package? Do I need the basics and the the web package? Because it sounded like some of what was in the web package is also from the basics, because I saw some, reference to the 10-page BAG document seemed to be listed in both. And so, yeah, it was a combination of, what do I take advantage of you? What do I need to have done, before a launch versus that I can spend more time?
Yeah, can you give me, so I totally understand. The question is, how do I prioritize the needs in my business? Give me the 2-minute overview of what you do, what your business is about.
Right. So it's a well-being focus. It will be for sure a combination of sort of live in-person kinds of workshops and classes, as well as some online probably pre-recorded types of things. And I will probably also be doing some, let's call them collaborations, because some of them I think will be collaborations with community organizations, whether they're local or national, because my bent, if you will, is very much towards mental health as opposed to like physical exercise, right?
Okay.
And, but it will also involve things like yoga and movement. And I know from my yoga training, they've given us leads for insurance for releases and stuff like that. So right now it just all feels very overwhelming. And since I'm going to do some local, perhaps some national and some online, that was like one of the questions was, well, I don't know what things have to be state specific versus,
So if I can cut you off just for a minute, in the wellness world, what your focus, I know I heard you say, is around kind of mental health and mental wellness. Do you come at all with a licensed profession or from another, like you don't have a professional license that you have to protect?
No, I don't. Like I'm not a licensed
therapist or a counselor.
therapist,
Okay.
like that. I mean, I'm a certified yoga teacher. I'm a certified social emotional learning facilitator. I have certifications in mental health first aid, suicide prevention. I just got a certification from a NAMI program, so I'll be a certified trainer for that. But no, I don't have to protect any
professional license.
Professional license.
Do you have assets in your personal life? Do you own a home? Do you have bank accounts with money in them? Like, talk to me about. You do? Okay.
Yeah, I do. And I mean, I have like personal, liability insurance, but and all my other, my homeowner's auto, that kind of stuff. But I have a large personal liability insurance, but
and that's still different than business, right? So personal liability is still different than what you do in your business and how that liability translates to your personal
asset. And you talked a little bit about that last week, and I was kind of like, well, do I need business liability and any liability that's specific to like physical movement stuff that I do, right? It gets like, I mean, I saw a blurb, I'm sure I saved the article, and maybe you're aware because you track this kind of stuff. Like somebody is bringing a lawsuit against an app company because they used the app and it pointed them in the wrong direction in terms of a mental health diagnosis. And I'm like, yeah, I really want to read the article, but these are the kinds of things, right? Because I'm combining physical, mental,
Yep. So anybody in the well-being world does have to watch out for this stuff, because there are real risks when people follow your advice or the information that you provide. And and if you already have personal assets in your life, let's pretend that you were 25 and you owned nothing to your name, like we'd be having a different conversation, right? With you, I would say absolutely set up a business entity before you launch anything. Go get your LLC set up. Go house your business inside of a structure. That is the only way to separate out business liability from your personal assets. So again, back to my map that I, walked people through in the masterclass, but also my free legal basics bootcamp, which if you saw that will walk you through the same framework. That's always where I would start, is if you have assets to protect in your personal life, all day long, I'm going to hammer home, go get your business set up properly, right? And that's going to be state specific. So whatever state you're based in, you're going to, go and a lot of people can do this on their own. My business builder basics will help people through this process. I also have in my individual template store an LLC formation guide that can help people through the process, because usually things have to be done in a certain order. So, that can help simplify that process. But generally what it looks like is getting a registered agent. You can be your own registered agent if you want your mailing address on file. A lot of people don't. So they might just pay $50 a year to a registered agent service in their state. And then you go actually file the documents. You can just go online to your Secretary of State. They're going to have simple forms that you fill out to start an LLC, right? But once that's completed, then you're going to pay a filing fee to the state. That usually varies by state. But once that process is completed, then you've got the entity set up, and you would be looking at what business licenses do you need. That's usually going to be, city or county business license. Some states have a master business license that you have to get. So you're just going to Google, what business licenses are required in your state, and your Secretary of State might point you in the direction of those resources. Sometimes there's links between agencies that handle those things. But It's just a process of knowing what to do in what order, and all of it you can do yourself. But that, for people that are scrappy and are willing to go through that process, doesn't have to be that expensive to get your LLC set up. And then I've got, for people that are single member LLCs, I've got an LLC operating agreement template on my site, which, because a lot of people miss that step. They go, oh, I set it up with the state, I got my business license, they think they're done. No, you have to have an operating agreement, which is basically the document that manages your business in order to finalize that business setup. So if you go the LLC route, right, I would definitely get an operating agreement in place so that and that's a document that you date, you sign, you keep in your files, but it only gets disclosed if there's a regulatory issue, if there's litigation at some point. It's not a document that you have to file anywhere, but it is required by law to have to complete your business formation. So that's basically the business setup in a nutshell. From there, you're looking at, and if you're launching online, I assume when you say launch, you mean you're launching a website, or you've got a course or a program or something that you're bringing to the world. Yeah. That's where you would start to look at, how is that service trading hands? For somebody that's like, oh, I'm just launching my first service through my business, maybe that's a one-on-one client service, right? You'd get a client services agreement in place. I always say, protect your moneymaker. What is it that you're doing to make money? Start there. Right? So if it's a one-on-one service, get a client services agreement in place to cover that exchange. If it's you're doing an online launch where people are going to be driven through a website or a landing page, they're going to, probably have email follow-up, you're going to have an online course, then yeah, absolutely, you need the website protection package, because that's a package that protects all of those functions: collecting data, publishing data, selling data, right? So, and then
oh, go ahead, you go.
Yeah. So the website protection package, right? Because many people have an online hub to their business, but beyond that, because I heard you mention, you might do collaborations like JVs. Each one of those things you would go look at inside of that bucket number 2, the contracts bucket. Like, is there something else that I need to protect this particular portion of my business, right?
So just to reflect back what you said and put it in the context of what I heard last week and what I saw on your website, it almost sounds like, okay, so here's what I heard. Before you launch, set up the business structure. It has to be done with it, it's state-based.
Yep.
So I could either, choose to work with a local attorney, or take advantage of your templates and do the stuff myself, other than, this register agent. But beyond that, I didn't hear you talk much about other things in the business basics, but more the website package. So is that
the business basics has all that stuff? So it's got the LLC formation guide. It includes the operating agreement. It also has other business planning resources. So the business builder basics is for somebody who is just starting a business and they want kind of a comprehensive look at what it takes to get that started and then to do some additional planning. So you're going to have other resources inside of that bundle. For somebody that's like, look, I need the down and dirty, right? It's also why I have created the individual options in my individual template store. If somebody goes, okay, I'm going to go take the time myself to research the business formation process, but I know I need an operating agreement. I'm just going to get your operating agreement, right? They may not choose to take advantage of the other documents, information reports, etc., or the LLC formation guide that all show up inside of the bundle. The bundle is designed to make it easy for people that have a little bit of time to do that initial front end business planning and then follow the steps that are going to be outlined inside of that bundle.
Okay, this helps a lot. I appreciate it. I do have some other questions, but as I said, I don't want to be a hog.
Totally. Well, let's check in with other people and then we'll come back around. Okay. Good questions, Lynn. All right. Who's next? Steve, I see that you've got your mic unmuted. Did you have a question I can help you with?
No, not really. I'm just here to listen and learn.
That's all right. Welcome. And I like your background too, wherever that is.
I don't know where it is
Makes
either.
me want to be there, right?
Yes, no doubt.
Diana, Tamisa, and Philip, anybody with a question that I can support you with here this morning?
Hey, Heather, I'm just same as Steve, just sitting in and seeing how this session goes.
Yeah,
but
no
if anything
worries.
comes up, I'll let you know. Thank you.
No problem. Tamisa, what is your business really quick?
I actually work with Sarah, so we've worked with you
that's right.
and
That's right.
just getting started on the website protection package.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thanks for that. Just going through all the videos right now. And
Okay, good
yeah.
work. Yep. Let me know if you have any questions as you make your way through that little video series. I don't think you were CC'd on it, but I also sent over basically the client services agreement for the grant review
Perfect.
stuff. Yeah. So
Okay.
Sarah's got that in her inbox as well. And you can
Great.
reach out also if you've got any questions.
That's fantastic.
All
Thank
right.
you so much,
Good.
Heather.
Yeah. Good to have you here. Diana, anything today that I can help you with? She might be off doing other things. No worries. Philip, how about you?
Just yeah, nothing, I guess, real general. We've been going back and forth on
Yeah,
specific issues.
totally. Yeah, and on that particular agreement, I'm happy to send over some notes regarding some of the clauses that jumped out at me so that you've got those, but I'm also completely happy if you've got counsel that lives in the medical space for you to reach out directly if you feel confident that they've given you good support and they're going to give you great feedback on this as well. I do not feel possessive over this work. And so I'm very happy to give you, what I noticed based on my initial review, and then let you connect with your other counsel if that feels like the right path.
Great. Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah, because the only thing that I wouldn't have, a lot of the general drafting I could provide feedback on. It's going to be the technicalities of the medical space, like the Medicare, Medicaid, some of the documentation and reporting requirements. And that would just take time walking through with you, like what, based on your past year there, what you're set up to do as far as handling some of the procedural stuff that happens inside of that setup, right?
Right.
So, and maybe that stuff is all sorted out. What can often happen is that the documents, depending on the skill of the drafter, how much information they have about your particular scenario, the documents can sometimes be a mismatch for what happens in reality, right? So for example, one of the clauses I notice is that you would be jointly and severally liable for any overage payments made by Medicare or Medicaid, right? But what I imagine is that you're not responsible for the billing, that you show up and do the work, but the hospital is responsible for the billing. Is that not how it works?
It is, there's always debate, this is always an issue in contracts because, the billing is based on my documentation. So, if they, we bill based on your documentation. But yeah, I'm not doing the actual billing and coding. So I leave it up to the people they've hired to do that, to appropriately
right, to code it correctly. And yes,
and yeah, there have been scenarios where basically the coders were being aggressive and and then the docs were kind of like hung out to dry, I guess you could say, because of that. Not
so there was some stuff
there.
Exactly. That provision, the one about you doing marketing. Do you do any marketing on behalf of this facility? No.
No, I don't.
No. So like there's some things like that I was like, this doesn't really seem like probably a fit for this precise scenario. The liability, like the indemnification clause, is problematic. One instance of, something going wrong at the hospital that's beyond your control, could wipe out a year's salary. So absolutely no on the current version of the indemnification clause that they have.
Yeah.
And you would just want to make sure that, and I'm sure, your person in healthcare is well aware of this, but that they would draft it either so that it's extraordinarily limited or non-existent. And the other alternative is, even in the case of a limited indemnification provision, I would want to see a mutual indemnification from the hospital, that if you got sued for any reason based on something that the hospital did, that the hospital indemnifies you for that. And I'm not sure that I saw any indemnification provision going the other way.
Yeah, and typically in malpractice suits, the ones that I've been involved in, the hospital and the physician both get named typically, and sometimes
Mhm.
one gets dropped and sometimes there's joint, or I've only had one case that ever went to, even got settled, didn't get through. Or well, actually I should say there are two cases, one got settled and the hospital, ended up paying, and I got dropped from the suit as an individual practitioner.
Yeah.
The other one went the other way, that it got settled, and I was responsible, but it's always that's never clean, even when you're working for the hospital, and
No,
then this becomes even more complex because I wouldn't be directly working for the hospital, and I have my own, malpractice insurance and all that. So
Yeah.
and then you get into scenarios where the two are fighting with each other. So
Yeah.
never boring. Yeah,
I
but
know, right? Never boring. And I just don't want any contracts to make it any worse, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, even based on that, the thing that because the other thing I know about malpractice is, if you sign a contractual provision that somehow, puts liability onto yourself for certain things that are contractual, that can void the application of your malpractice. And I would never want you to be in that scenario. And so I just want to make sure that whoever you work with, they look really carefully at those provisions. And like I said, I can send over a quick email summary just saying these are the provisions that I noticed that would, at least top of mind, need to be rewritten.
Yeah, that would be great. And then I'll reach out to
Okay.
him and see if he's comfortable. Can extensive, this
You're cutting out a little bit, Philip. I wonder if,
area
okay, you're back.
Practice.
Yeah.
I hear you all right. Yeah.
Do you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Sorry,
Sometimes,
my,
no, that's okay. Sometimes turning off video will help restore that connection if it's just like a slow internet thing. But yeah, if he's comfortable doing that and he has lots of experience in the healthcare space, I'll shoot over a summary. You can check in with him. And if not, if for whatever reason he's not available or this one isn't a particular fit, let me know, because I can reach out to my network and get a referral.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to see you, Philip. All right. Any others? Diana, if you're
Heather.
back.
Yep.
All righty. Diana, if you're back, just checking in with you in case you've got a question before we sign off. This might be a short one. Steve, how about you? Anything come
Nope.
up? Oh, and Lynn, you had some. Let's wrap back around to Lynn.
Okay, so two other questions. One of them has to do with sort of proper use of either others' material or things you've learned from others that is, for lack of a better word, respectful of their intellectual property, right?
Mm.
So, I've done a lot of courses, and not even courses, like I have some that are actual courses, but just other book discussions or whatever that I've done, right? Where I've learned about other people's methods for certain things, and I maybe want to take bits and pieces of it. But, I don't necessarily want to get certified in their methodology or whatever, but I certainly want to, if I use their exact methodology, give proper, credit. And if I'm just taking bits and pieces and sort of reworking it into mine, yeah. So I'm sure you get the gist of it.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, what's the proper thing to do?
Yeah, so the quick overview is, and people hate hearing this, but if you didn't create it, don't use it in your business. And it really is that simple, because so there is, what you're talking about is copyrights, right? Copyright protection. And basically anytime you create a work that takes tangible form, so authors writing a book, somebody creating an infographic, somebody writing an article or creating a video series or whatever, contained within that are often their frameworks, their methodologies, all of these things that, we can stand to benefit from. But if you did not create that system or framework or methodology or idea, there's basically no fair use exemption for you in the commercial space. So where fair use exemptions generally live is in, if there's an element of public interest, right? So this is why newscasters could take information or a report or something that they did not create and report on it. There's certain exceptions for either like parody or satire, right? If you're making light of a certain issue and you're using it in parody or satire, there can be some exemptions that apply. If you are in academics, right? So you're teaching at a university, there can be a fair use exemption that applies that allows you to refer to or use other people's work or ideas, etc. Not in business. If you're using something for a commercial purpose, that usually is stepping over the bounds. And so, what I tell all my clients is, if you are setting yourself up as an expert in your space, take great care to create your own systems, your own ideas, your own ways of doing things. And, yes, we all benefit from information around us. So, so that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to exclude everything that we ever learned in our past from our current perspective. But the question becomes, if you portray an idea or somebody's work in your own business, could an outside person look at it and say, this looks a lot like that, right? Could they, because it's really, there's this, there's no black and white standard around, there's horrible statistics that fly around. People say oh, if you copy something, just change 10% of it and you're good. No, I don't know where that ever came from. Not true, right? I hear just outrageous things that get said in the online space. And you have to be very cautious that any language, anything that you use that did not originate with you or in your business is susceptible to a claim.
What if you
attribution is not enough.
Oh, attribution's not enough.
Does not get you off the hook. No. So attribution, while that might be the name of the game in academia, right? Of course, you're doing your book report and you have to do the long list of citations or whatever. Not the same in the real world and in business. Attribution is absolutely not enough. So if you get a license, this is different than attribution. Attribution is here, I'm going to quote this person and just cite their name or their book, and you can go find it yourself. Will not get you off the hook for copyright infringement. A license, if you have written permission from that individual or that business or that creator to use something in a specific way, which is the way that you're using it, and you've got that documented, that's different. If you have a written license, and people generally pay for this, right? This is why we were able to white label or license certain things in our businesses, because they have value, and other people come to us and say, hey, I'd like to use that, right? So there are ways that you can use third-party content, but you need to have a license, which is why for people that are gathering visuals off the internet or whatever, I'm thinking of all the ways that small businesses get themselves in trouble with copyright infringement. Usually snagging photos, thinking that they could take something and repost it and use it in their business. No, unless you've got a written license that was downloaded at the time that you also downloaded the photo, right? And you can track all of that. You should not be using anything from the internet in your business. So it's just a really, really sticky area, and people get into trouble all the time. And there's a whole batch of attorneys out there that are copyright sharks, and they track people down for this stuff and bring lawsuits. And so it's just a simple change in your business systems, and the way that you think about this will really save you.
Wow. It's really, really useful, not what I would have expected, but really helpful. The other one has to do, I guess it fits in the privacy arena,
Mhm.
the opt-in, opt-out stuff. So I told you last week, I found you through Julie Hood, and I'm doing a course with her on setting up stuff on Kajabi, right? And so, one of the things is, there's a place where you have to set up opt-in, opt-out kinds of things, right?
Yep.
And they even have references on Kajabi for, describing, the laws and whatever. And I read through all this, and I'm like, it's really kind of confusing. And I have done work in the past where we had to deal with privacy and opt-in, opt-out kinds of things. And I'm trying, and first of all, it's different in the US versus in Europe, the privacy laws. And I'm also struggling with the issues of, I've done like work, I have, some of my coursework and certifications are in behavioral science, right? So the behavioral scientists would say, oh, you want to default to opt in, and they'll show you all the studies that show you get better participation, like,
that's true. If you're motivated to increase numbers, absolutely. But an automatic, so what Lynn is talking about, for anybody that's listening, is, at the point of opt-in, let's say you have a landing page or a newsletter sign up, you'll notice like there are often little boxes that show up below it, right? That will say, various things. They can say a variety of things, but basically some element of I consent to hear from you, or receive marketing messages, or whatever. People set them up in different ways. If you're truly GDPR compliant, and GDPR is the law in Europe that really governs most businesses these days. It is kind of the strictest version of the privacy laws that exist out there, and it is the direction that other countries are trending. So like Brazil, Japan, various countries have passed their version of a law that looks like GDPR, right? And I think we're going to continue to trend that way. So GDPR flipped the privacy world on its head, because it used to be more is more. And just like you said, we're going to assume everybody has opted in, and we're going to automatically check that box, and they have to actively take an action to opt out, to either uncheck it or say, no, I don't want your marketing messages. I just want this one downloadable thing. That's how you would comply with GDPR if you were looking for technical compliance, right? And you'd have a way of tracking that. So I know Kajabi is like, houses a lot of courses and other content. Do you have a CRM that attaches to that? Because that's actually where you are going to track probably your opt-ins, is through your CRM. Right. So like Infusionsoft tracks what is the date that somebody opted in. And if you have your tagging set up in specific ways, it can track what they consented to. So you need to look at your system. And basically, why don't I drop this in? This is a few years old, because this let me just go look for my link. I created a GDPR report around the time that the GDPR was taking effect. It's a free report. I'm happy to share it here. Let me just see if I can go grab the link. But you have to rethink the way that data flows through your business, right? You think of your business basically as like a big mansion, okay? And there's different ways that information comes into your business, right? So let's pretend that you're a speaker, or you get on online summits or whatever. That's one way that information comes in your business. And you're probably going to have a landing page set up, or a free gift, or something that collects people's information, right? Maybe you're a speaker in real life, and you also collect business cards, or you have a sign-up sheet, or some other way that you actually collect that data into your business, right? That's another door to your mansion. Let's say that you also have a telephone enrollment system. People, you sometimes get on introductory calls or, an initial consultation or something, and then somebody then enrolls into a program or course through, good old fashioned phone, over the phone process. Another way that you're taking information into your business. All of these are doors, if you will, into this mansion, which is your business. And for many small businesses, they have numerous ways in. It's not just always the same way in. And so you have to think about it every door. Are you making proper disclosures about what information you're collecting, how you're keeping it safe, where your privacy policy is, how they can opt out, how they can get out of your database, how they can update their information. These are all required disclosures under the GDPR, right? So you just have to think about this concept of data flows. How does data flow into your business? And then once it's there, what do you do with it? Who has access to it, right? Used to be that anybody in your business could probably access, whatever information you thought they needed. Now you have to have very specific controls over, does this VA, for example, really need access to all of my sales history or my client's credit cards or whatever? Or does this social media person really need access to my entire Google Drive? Probably not, right? So it's really about mapping what happens once data flows into your business, who has access, and how could you justify if you were ever under review for like, let's say you had a data breach or something go wrong in the privacy world and you had a regulatory audit of your business, could you justify to an auditor the way your business systems are currently set up, right? Where are you housing your data? What safety mechanisms do you have in place for it? How do you modify or adjust your data? It used to be like, I had a conversation with a client who's been in business a while, and I said to him, how many years of like hard drives or disk drives or backups do you have in your business, right? You know what he said? At least 20 years. I'm like, 20 years of sales reports, email, like all the things, because it's all for him. He's been in the digital space for a while. Under the GDPR, that is a really unsafe position to be in, right? We don't need all that data. And so you've got this, you have to start looking at your data flows, how it comes in the door, who has access to it once it's in the door, what safety mechanisms you have in place. Where are your SOPs? Where are your standards that anybody in your business can follow and know that they are handling data the right way because you've created the system, right? And then how do you clean up or expunge that data? You have an obligation under the GDPR to clean it up, to keep your database current. So what are your procedures for cleaning up your email list every 6 months, right? What are your procedures and what are your rules around how long you keep any of this information, right? There might be a legal basis for keeping sales records, keeping, people having an exported version of your Infusionsoft database, for example, if a certain segment of those people have been your clients, and let's say that for financial or tax purposes, you need to keep those for 7 years, right? So that's a legal basis for keeping certain information. But if somebody wants out of your database and they don't want to hear from you anymore, and they don't want marketing materials from you anymore, you do have to have a system that respects those requests and takes care of them as expediently as possible, especially if there's not a valid reason to continue keeping all their information inside of your system, right? They're not a past client. They opted in a couple months ago, they got what they think they needed, and now they want out, right? We don't get to keep those people forever in our databases. So it's that's kind of the overview of how you look at data flows in your business. And then just make sure that you write policies from the inside as the leader of your business about what happens to the information that comes in, where it goes, whether you make copies. And on that point, I would say, less is more. Of course, make sure that you have duplicate copies of some of the critical information that helps you run your business. But I don't want to see people having 5, 6, 7, 10 copies of their email list or, private information that they've collected from clients because they initially maybe put it onto their computer. They have a backup drive. They run a copy to the cloud. Maybe it's Backblaze. Maybe it's Google Drive, whatever, Dropbox, right? All of these have automated systems for running backups. I don't want to see you with a bazillion copies of information in your business, because should you get a request where you have to process data the right way, you now need to go process it out of those 7 duplicate copies of that set of information, right? So this is where really thoughtfully thinking through, how do you create business systems that work for you, that really achieve the less is more, right? Covering your essential information, but not overdoing it. The old days of more is more are behind us. More data is not more. You need the right data, and you need it to be timely, and then you need to get rid of the rest.
So Heather, thank you. That was like phenomenal. Specifically around the opt-in and opt-out, if you have the right disclosures displayed, right? Is there any violation of GDPR if you default to opt-in? Like, as long as that's what I was, that was what I was most confused about, whether again the disclosure's enough, or you can't use opt-in as a default.
No, you can't have it be the default. They have to opt in to receive the information. So you can't have a box pre-checked. Yeah, good question. That's an important one.
And so just the little follow-up to that, do you have to have opt-out as a default, or can you leave them unchecked and force them to make a choice? No,
unchecked. Yes. And the other thing is that your opt-out will always exist, right? If you're using any of the legitimate CRMs that are out there, you're going to have a mechanism at the bottom of every email that you send from your business where they can opt out there as well. That's mandatory. You need to have an actual mailing address attached to that. So, when you set up your account, they generally will walk you through that. But I've seen people put in bad information into those footers. 123 somewhere in New Jersey. No, don't do that. Has to be an actual mailing address where somebody, and it doesn't have to be a home address or a physical address. It can be a PO box, but you have to be able to receive physical mail there as well. And that is, if you look separately at the requirements under the CAN-SPAM Act, there's 7 requirements that you have to meet to not violate that law. That's one of them. But it relates closely to the opt-out because they usually are occurring in the same section down there at the footer of your email. Awesome. Look at you. You're flying through the 101, right? It's all right. This is so super important that you learn and hear this now. Many people learn this the wrong way, right? Partway through their journey. And so it's, it takes a little bit to think through it and think through how it applies to your business, how you're going to kind of revamp some of your business systems, but super important to do. All right. How's everybody doing? Any other questions? Hi, Diana. Good to see you.
I was driving, just to say thanks for, all those great questions, because I'm like revamping everything right now. And my mentor's like, SOPs, and so it's really good to like review all that as I move into the next phase. Good to see you. And
yes,
thanks.
Good to see you as well. Yeah, the SOPs are super important. Oh my goodness. And once you have them, the good news is once you have them created for kind of each segment, each thing you do in your business, super easy to update them, right? As your processes scoot along and you make changes or you fix certain issues or whatever. But yeah, it just takes kind of observing what you're already doing and just creating a written process for that. And then, making any corrections that you need to. All right. Well, we went up to 46 minutes. Good work today. Any other final questions that I can help you guys with? I was going to look for that GDPR report. Let me just go. Let's see. GDPR info. There we go. GDPR resources. Let me just grab this link for you guys. For anybody that wants to read through that, you know, just a little light reading, super fun on a Monday. I also did a Facebook Live, a live training. I had a lot of people freaking out around the time that the GDPR took effect. This is going to be a few years old, but there's a couple of videos right there, like 3 minutes at the end got cut off here. So that will take you to the report up top and then the videos that kind of go along with that training. You guys are welcome to check those out if you want to go a little deeper into the GDPR stuff. The quick overview is that it does apply if you've got international clients, anybody who's a resident of the EU, the rules apply to you. You have to know how to take care of people in your database. And the other reality is that people are increasingly aware of their rights to their information and to their privacy. And so I've had some clients where they mishandled things. They didn't respond in a timely manner. You've got 30 days to respond to a GDPR request and have it processed the right way. Where somebody reached out to me with a communication they'd received from somebody on their list. And this was around the time that the GDPR went into play. And I said, oh, okay, well, when did you receive this particular request? And they said, oh, about 30 days ago. I said, well, congrats. You were supposed to have it totally handled by today, not just the initial response. And so anytime, if anybody running any size business gets an email involving privacy, involving database stuff, all I'll say is take it seriously. That's somebody who's had a bad experience with another business and they're probably already a little huffy over their information. And so you just have to really walk the line and make sure that you handle things the right way. Don't sit on those. Be very respectful. Do anything you can to comply with their request. And if you can't, give them a valid explanation why certain information may need to be kept beyond just removing them from your marketing list or your email list. All righty. Any final questions? Steve, how are you feeling? Thumbs up. Okay, we hung
Thumbs
in
up.
there. Awesome. Lynn, was this helpful? I know it was a lot, but was it helpful for you?
Topic. So
Yes, it was. I'm sorry. I just clicked your links and now I have your voice in
My
my.
voice going on in the background for you.
still making seen a lot of
Totally. I get it. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys showing up to the makeup call. Next month, we'll be back on track with our regularly scheduled programming. We sorted out the Zoom issue. And so hopefully if you have any additional questions, you know, you can find me there or reach out in the meantime. Lynn, let me know if you've got any additional questions about kind of the various options or what route you want to go, but hopefully that gave you some things to think about.
Oh, yeah, that was
Thank you.
wonderful. I didn't think we could do this in this Ask Me Anything, but I'm glad for both of us that it worked out that way. And thank you. Super. Phenomenal.
Good. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, Tamiza. Glad you could be here with us today. Thanks, Lynn. I'm glad it worked out well. The thing is, Lynn, often many people have similar questions. Like this ends up just being a good way for people to get some additional education on sometimes things that they didn't even think about. So that's why I do like this forum for these types of questions, because I get them frequently and people really do need to hear and understand the answers. All right. Well, I hope you guys all have a great week. Good to see you all. Steve, good to see you again. Let me know if you need any additional support, but I'll watch for you guys next month or inside of my email.
Good luck at the vet.
Thank you. I know that's next.
Just what you need on top of busing and school starting, right?
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, it's always such a race to the finish, getting my kids out the door. Oh man, I've got to get support. I have a kid who has ADHD, and the hardest part of my day is getting these two little peanuts out the door, right? And so every Monday I'm like, woo, we were 20 minutes late today. That's how on time we were. And then yeah, with a sick doggy, and it's all good. We're going to sort it out, but I've got some talking about SOPs and systems. I've got some
Yeah, I
systems.
need one at home.
Yeah, for our morning routine.
Well, good luck and thank you again.
You're welcome. Yeah, Diana's getting a kick out of that. Totally. All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.